Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon Pacific time and 3 p.m. Eastern time. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. If you feel you need a therapist, BetterHelp.com is my sponsor. BetterHelp.com is an online counseling service, so if you are in a rural area and you don't like the counselor that is nearby you, or if you don't like your therapist, or if you just want to be doing it online and you don't want to have to drive hours to find another therapist, then BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. I will put it down in the description. They're an online counseling service. If you are overseas, they will hook you up with an American counselor. They are really affordable. It works out to something like $65 a session for a set of 4. So BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay, there's that. All right, let's dive into today's topics and questions. So, okay, this last Sunday, a few days ago, we were talking about everyday narcissists. So where you would find them in like the medical profession or, you know, attorneys and things like that. So someone had asked me a question about medical trauma. Okay. This is a thing. It absolutely is a thing. So going to the hospital is a very traumatic thing, especially if you're a little kid or, you know, you're going in for a surgery. That's scary. Going under is scary. So even colonoscopies can cause trauma. You betcha, because you're out of control, because you're not in control. Somebody else is. Somebody has literally life or death control over you. And that is a terrifying and frightening thing. So medical trauma is a real thing. The white coat syndrome, that's a real thing. It's so funny. I've had clients come in and their doctor will be like, oh, that's not real. And I will look at them and say, you need to get a new doctor. You need to get a new doctor. This doctor is no bueno. So yeah, white coat syndrome is a real thing. So that means you're going to the doctor or you're going to the hospital or whatever, and your blood pressure starts going up and your heart rate starts going up because the amygdala is being stimulated. It's like, oh my gosh, this is scary. Oh my gosh, we're going to go do this thing that we've had bad experiences with in the past. Oh my gosh. You know, so medical trauma, white coat syndrome, is a totally normal thing. It does happen. And any doctor who tells you otherwise is not a good doctor. Let me just reiterate that for those of you who missed it the first time I said it. Medical professionals get less than 6 weeks training in mental health issues. Let me say that again. Medical professionals get less than 6 weeks training in mental health issues. So, and like I said, that is a profession where a lot of narcissists are really attracted to because of the power differential. So medical trauma is a real thing. And if you have had, you know, serious traumatic events and had to go to the hospital, like you were in an accident or you had a disease or, you know, you had to be intubated or, you know, whatever, those are all very traumatic events. And yes, you will get PTSD from them. And especially if you've got a chronic ongoing disease where you have to go back to the hospital, you have to have multiple surgeries. Yes, you are going to have PTSD. Absolutely. Because it is traumatic. It is life and death. And that's the very definition of post-traumatic stress disorder. Either you have yourself been in a position where you were facing death or you saw someone else facing death, you know, or a life-threatening event, you know. So yeah, medical trauma is a real thing. So what you can do is take your power back as much as you possibly can. So find doctors you like. Find doctors that have got good bedside manners. Find doctors that are human and not narcissists if you can. You know, journal, talk, get in with support groups, especially if you're having to go back to the hospital over and over and over again for ongoing issues. You know, validate yourself. This is a thing, guys. I would avoid hospitals at all frickin' costs. You know, my parents took me to a hospital when I was 5, I think I was, because I was having stomach aches because I was such a nervous wreck around my dad because he was crazy. You know, and so I had to spend the night there by myself, and it was terrifying. You know, it was terrifying to be left in a huge room with a bunch of other cribs and, you know, not know anybody and not understand what's going on and, you know, not have your parents around to comfort you. Of course, my dad wouldn't have comforted me anyway, but, you know, Mom couldn't stay the night there. Dad wouldn't let her, you know. So yeah, hospitals can be very triggering. Medical trauma is a real thing. PTSD from medical trauma is a real thing. White coat syndrome is a real thing. And any doctor that tells you otherwise is a bad doctor. Fire them. So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, medical trauma comes from the fact that it is a life-threatening thing. And yeah, you can get PTSD from it. I would get with a good trauma therapist. I would start working on it. EFT would be really good for that. Tapping, helping calm and things like that. The tapping, that's a good one. I've had several clients that have decided to do that, and it's helped them tremendously with their anxiety. So there is that. Okay, so I just wanted to validate medical trauma is a real thing. And really, it's a matter of dealing with the PTSD. It's a matter of dealing with the fears and things like that. Okay, let me find the first question. Okay, where can we see who has got complaints against them? Okay, so in last week's video, or a couple of days ago, I talked about, make sure that whoever you're using is either your therapist or your doctor or your attorney, and look up the judge too. There's reviews on judges. They're out there, So with the judges, you can just look them up by name and just, reviews, or what do people think about this guy or girl or whatever. With attorneys, the state bar, should have a list of whether there's been any filings against them. The board, any of the boards. So when in any state, it's going to be the Board of Nursing, the medical board, the Board of Behavioral Health, things like that. So you can look up people's licenses that way, and you have, when you go on to Psychology Today, they will list the license number of people. So there's that. You can also look up their license number. You go to the board and you look up their license number, and you look them up to see if they've had any infractions against them, that kind of thing. Yeah, so that's what you do with that. And you want to make sure, look at reviews, look at what other people are saying, get a good sense of who this person is, and don't go to ones that don't have good reviews or that have got a lot of complaints against them. That's the one that you're going to want to watch out for. Okay, what's going on when someone... Oh, I'm going to have to put my glasses on for this one. Hang on. Okay. What's going on when someone apes others' gestures, views diagnoses for the attention from friends and family, or to toy with a psychiatrist to get a misdiagnosis and avoid responsibility? Is this narcissistic personality disorder? It sounds more like antisocial. So, or malingering. So when people malinger, it's when they pretend to have a disease or a disorder and they don't, and they use that as the excuse for bad behavior, not working, whatever it is they're trying to get out of doing. Being insensitive to other people's feelings, that is a lack of empathy, which is characteristic of both narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder. So without the person in front of me, I can't tell you what's going on, but I can tell you that there are some, red flags there. So let's see, what was the second part of that question? Oh yeah, so I think that answered it. So it's like when somebody is making fun of somebody else and being cruel, that's a lack of empathy, and that could be antisocial, that could be borderline on the malignant end, it could be narcissistic, without them in front of you. I don't know, but there are some red flags to be sure. Okay, what is the next question? If you're just an hourly employee and they're loading you up with work, but not the other hourly employees, it is abuse, and are they doing it on purpose? Well, again, without knowing the situation, I don't know. It's a possibility. If it's true that you're an hourly employee and they're piling all this work on you, but they're not piling it on the other ones, it could be a manipulation. It could be an abuse of power. So one way to find out would be to go to your supervisor and just be like, excuse me, sorry. It is ridiculously hot here in Phoenix, and it is ridiculously dusty. Ugh. Okay. One thing to do would be to speak to your immediate supervisor and just be like, I'm an hourly employee. I'm not going to work more than 45 hours a week. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm getting the lion's share of this stuff. Can we please redistribute the workload, because I can't do this. This is too much. And then if the supervisor is snarky or, nasty or, gives you that kind of recognition, like, it's working kind of smile, then you know that there's something hinky going on. And then you're going to have to take it up the chain of command. Supervisor above them, maybe HR. But don't expect a good outcome because, unfortunately, like I said, there are so many corporations that are just unethical and take advantage of employees and work them to death, and don't care. And HR is really there to protect the corporation from being sued. It's not so much for the employee. And I've had other people argue with me on that. Well, I worked in HR and I looked out for the employee. Well, you are a rarity, and I'm glad you did. But the majority of HRs out there are not there for the employees. So don't expect them to be your knight in shining armor. So if the situation is bad, look for a different job because life is too short. Absolutely. Okay. And what is this question? Okay. How do I create a safe tribe? How do I have friends that would understand all this? I hate to be isolated. Well, the thing of it is that most people are not going to understand the level of abuse that we've been through. Okay. Thank God, most people haven't been through the level of abuse that we have been through. And I wouldn't wish this on anybody. I wish I didn't know it, but I guess I needed to know it so that I could turn around and help other people who also have been abused. So you can either look for support groups, with people that have been through similar things, or you educate. You educate people. You explain to them, this is what I went through. This is, PTSD, CPTSD. This is what happened. And the good ones will stick around. The ones that are like, oh, it's too much. I can't deal with that. Well, bye. See ya. And it's a lot of people out there have not been through it, so they don't understand it. You can train them. You can teach them, and that's a good thing. I honestly, again, I think teaching is power. Knowledge is power. And the more people that understand this kind of abuse and understand what survivors of abuse have been through and what incredible warriors they all are and survivors they all are, I think it's better. I think it's better that people understand because they need to know not everybody's a nice person out there. Not everybody who pretends to be a saint is really a saint. Sometimes those halos are held up by horns. So, yeah, I think it's a good thing to not be ashamed of talking about your experiences. The people who are going to stick around are going to stick around. The ones that don't. And bye, And that's kind of hard because it's like a lot of times we've been isolated a lot of our lives. Either we had families of origin that were abusive and isolated us, or we had families of origin that were, addicted or mentally ill or ill, and we became caregivers, and then we grew up and we were groomed to fall in with another person that needed caring, and they turned out to be a narcissist or an abuser, and they isolated us, and it's we've been groomed to be isolated, so it's really important to connect. It's really important to connect, and actually not this week, because this week I'm going to be talking about sabotage, so both self-sabotage and other sabotage, but the week after that I want to talk about isolation, connection, and attachment, and how those all kind of play together. So I want to do that. So doing the things you love is the best thing you can do to connect with people that are like-minded. And generally, people who are like-minded will also be willing and able to hear your story and not judge you for it. So you want to find non-judgmental, happy people that love what they do, that you love what you do, you're doing something you love, you're sharing it together, and you're able to share your life stories and not judge. And that's the big thing. And if anyone ever uses your past against you, that's a really big sign to be like, okay, we're done. My past is not something to be used against me. Have a nice life. Bye-bye. That kind of thing. So anyway, I hope that answered the questions. Yes, medical trauma is a real thing. Yes, and it can happen also from having to deal with narcissistic nurses, narcissistic or antisocial nurses, narcissistic or antisocial doctors. I've had several clients that have been completely immobilized in a really vulnerable situation, and the nurse abused them. So, physically. So, yeah, they're out there. Sadists are out there. Narcissists are out there. Abusers are out there. You've got to protect yourself. Medical trauma does happen because it is a life-threatening event. White coat syndrome is real. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. So yeah, so there's all that. Okay, so this week on We Need to Talk, it is going to be about self-sabotage and other sabotage and how to stop those, how to stop self-sabotaging yourself and how to stop other people from sabotaging you. So that's what we're going to talk about. All right, guys, this is a short one. So you guys have a great week, and I will talk to you on Sunday as soon as I find my clicker. There it is. All right, stay cool, drink lots of water. It's like 117 here in Phoenix. Yay. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye.